Chapter 12. Therefore, the world is filled with what?
I've decided we shall name the child Kaito. He can't be the Momota heir. I don't want him to become a killer. He can't be like us. Kaito, if you ever think of killing someone again, remember this shrine.
What'll that do?
You won't be able to kill, because in that shrine, your mother will be watching you.
Kokichi clutched the advance notice in his hands.
Kaito!
His deep purple eyes were wide and confused.
What are you? I don't understand why.
He didn't get a response.
You honestly want to kill me?
His breath caught in his throat.
This is wrong! This doesn't make any sense, Kaito! Why now?
Because I couldn't before. Kaito answered simply, with an eerie blank expression. I was incapable of killing. But now, the spell on me has been broken. I decide which path to follow now. The taller boy sliced his sword so quickly, he barely had time to jerk back. There was a burning sensation across his forehead. Warm blood began running down his face, mingling with the tears there. The sword was leveled at his chest.
Please, don't!
He reached out a pale, shaking hand.
Kaito, not you. This just isn't.
The taller boy swung his sword again. This time, he stumbled back until the ground dropped from underneath him, and he fell to the level below. When he looked up, he saw that sword pointed at him again. He was really going to do it, huh?
I have one question before you do it.
He gasped.
Are you really going to kill me because you think that I betrayed you? Is that the reason why? Do you really believe that? That I controlled you with my power?
I don't know. Kaito shook his head. And I need to. This is the only way to find out for sure. The only way that I can prove it to myself. Shots rang out around them, making the taller boy retreat behind a wall. Kokichi! A hand grabbed his arm and pulled him to his feet. He looked up to see... Kaito? Wait, what was going on? What the hell is she trying to pull? Kaito growled. Come on, let's go! They began running. Or the taller boy was, and Kokichi was just stumbling along.
Kaito, hold on!
He struggled to comprehend what was happening.
What's happening? How can there be two of you?
'Cause that's Samugi! Kaito tossed over his shoulder. Try and think back on what she told you about the Momota and Kuzunoha clans, the two most powerful families of assassins. The Momotas have long specialized in combat assassination techniques, while the Kuzunohas are well-known black arts practitioners.
Like black magic?
They say that, but it's just hypnosis and mind games. They psychologically manipulate their targets, rob them of their ability to tell what's real, then drive them to their deaths, or make them kill other people.
So, that other Kaito was really Samugi?
That's my guess. Think about it. She probably put these lights and incense down here because they have a hypnotic effect. Look around. This place is like a stage, placed just for her.
But still, assuming that was Samugi, then why would she try to kill me? I mean, she's the arbiter of Class Black.
But she never said that she wasn't an assassin, right? From the very moment Class Black ended, her plan was to betray you and kill you. And do it while disguised as me. It's exactly the type of scheme only a Kuzunoha could come up with. Kokichi abruptly stopped in his tracks. He stared at the names that still ran up and down the stones.
Even here, the clan is still...
He rested his head against the stone, not caring that the blood on his face smeared against the wall. Hey, come on! Kaito held out his hand.
And you're okay with helping me?
Kokichi closed his eyes.
It could still be true. I really might have manipulated you into protecting me. I don't even know the truth of it. I might have...
He whirled around to face the taller boy.
I might have done something awful and completely unforgivable to you!
I'm aware of this. He nodded with a solemn expression. And Maybe it's true. Maybe you did use your power to make me help you. I wish I could deny that, but I can't. But still, with you I was able to find something that I'd never had before. These feelings that led me to be your friend. They made me the person I am now." Kokichi gasped as he felt a blade against his arm. Kaito grabbed him and pulled him to his side, drawing out a gun and pointing it at the shadows that the sword had appeared from. A knife was thrown in his direction. The smaller boy watched in confusion as it appeared to pass right through him. He was pushed off to the side, watching as the two Kaitos began to fight with their knives. "Give it up! We know what you're doing!" one shouted. "Enough parlor tricks already! I made a vow that I would protect Kokichi! There's nothing that could make me want to kill him!" "That's where you're wrong!" the other shot back. "I'm killing Kokichi because it's the only way to help him!" "Well, I've got to be honest. I really thought you were a more logical person. This is the most logic means. Kill him is the only way to prove anything." Kokichi remembered what he'd told him as he laid on the floor, but the sword pointed at his chest. "This is the only way I can find out for sure." "Prove what?" "The truth! Kokichi doesn't even know what he is, which is why he questions whether or not this happened just because of the primer." What he'd said in their room before he left. "You heard her. She said the primer can exert itself without you even conscious of it, and it only gets stronger the more danger you're in. All of this time protecting him, and that's why you want to kill him? Killing him and protecting him are one and the same." The one that he was now sure was Samugi smirked and lunged at the real Kaito. "I have the ability to kill Kokichi!" the real one shouted. "I always have! It doesn't matter how much he wishes to live, or how much he exerts his primer." "But living is his greatest wish," Samugi grinned. "And you'd kill it?" "If I have to! His wishes can't control me!" Kaito dodged and slashed at his opponent. "If you're trying to pass yourself off as a Momota," she forced the knife out of his hand, "well, you're failing. It never worked on me." He jumped back, clenching his hands into fists. "Everything I've ever done was my own will. I've chosen this path." "Thank you for everything. That's why he was doing this." Kaito tossed Samugi onto her back, landing at the smaller boy's feet.
Oh!
Her voice sounded eerily creepy coming out of the taller boy's mouth.
He has completely lost his mind! And he has to royally screw up my plan. Still, there's no way I'll let you be the one to kill him!
She leapt to her feet and turned around with her knife in the air. There was the distant sound of a knife embedding itself in flesh, and she faltered. Kaito then grabbed her arm and forced the blade around. With a shove, it was forced into her rib cage. She collapsed to the ground, coughing and wheezing. Kokichi backed up until he found the knife that had been thrown earlier. He took it into his hands, holding it out in front of him. With a yell, he charged at the taller boy.
Thank you. I finally understand how you feel now. Thank you for protecting me all this time. After all the hell I've put you through, you still care about me enough to do this. Thank you so much. I love you. But still, I can't die yet. I have to live no matter what!
As he crashed into Kaito's chest, he felt a sharp pain in his own. Kokichi's ability exerts itself strongly when he's faced with death, so an insincere bluff of possible death won't work to prove anything. If the will to kill Kokichi can actually exist in his presence, then that will, it has to come from me. And that would mean my will is free, that Kokichi didn't manipulate my actions, and that my protection of him was of my own free will. But to prove all these things... Kaito had stopped, the blade Kokichi was holding in his hand. The other, the one holding his own knife, pressed against the smaller boy's chest, the handle of the blade being the only thing sticking out of his tiny body. Kokichi gave a quiet, choked gasp before falling sideways. Kokichi! The taller boy caught him before he could hit the ground, cradling him like the fragile thing he knew he was. The smaller boy's eyes were wide and fixated on his face, as if memorizing every detail. He smiled with tears and blood running down his face. Your family and Dice, they were like me. It was their choice. Kokichi's smile widened for a brief moment before his eyes closed and his body went limp. No. What had he done? His vision was blinded by sobs as he held the smaller boy tighter than he ever did while he was alive. Kokichi! He felt like the entire room was echoing with the sounds of his tears. No, the entire world. Graduation day. A day he looked forward to since the very beginning. He stood in front of Mr. Naegi, the only one in the big auditorium. And now the presentation of diplomas, the teacher announced. Year 10 Class Black, student number 13, Kokichi Ouma. Here! Kokichi waved, despite knowing full well he was the only one there. He walked up to the platform with a wince. The air brushing against the thin cut on his forehead was not pleasant. Your diploma of graduation! Mr. Naegi held up the piece of paper with a serious look on his face. It was actually kind of funny. Mr. Kokichi Ouma, this form certifies that the aforementioned has completed all coursework. He offered it to him with his usual carefree smile. Congratulations, Kokichi. You've done well. Thanks a lot. He grinned, carefully reaching over and grasping the certificate. This means so much to me, and that's not a lie. I'm so proud of you. He had that look that parents give their kids when they've given them a piece of art that they're going to hang on the fridge later. It's just too bad you're the only one who made it. You know, I could take those off your hands for you. Kokichi tilted his head with a mischievous smirk. I could probably figure out where everyone's gone and deliver 'em to 'em. Wonder what they'll say when they see me. He giggled. He couldn't wait to see their reactions.
Who the hell believed he would survive that?
Sumugi pondered from over Junko's shoulder.
All the previous attempts on his life are what saved him.
The blonde-haired woman replied simply.
Irony truly is a force of nature. Think of how surprised Kaito must have been. Who would have guessed Kokichi's ribs were made of titanium?
She shrugged.
If they weren't, that knife would have pierced straight through the center of his heart. Talk about tenacious, huh? It's safe to say that you're pretty tenacious yourself, my dear. Well now, I can't go and die that easily.
Kaede Akamatsu was seated comfortably in her home. All the repairs to her limbs were complete. Her butler entered the room with a card in his hand. Young mistress, a notice arrived in the mail for you, he announced. It's regarding the new cybernetic prototypes.
Thanks, but can you toss it in the trash?
She sighed. Excuse me, mistress? He blinked in obvious confusion. Kaede smiled and gazed out the window.
I've been thinking, maybe I'll just take up some cooking classes instead.
Kirumi stood up after placing incense on her long-lost lover's grave. I've made up my mind, and today is the last day I can visit you. She bowed her head. Clinging to the past serves no purpose, and I have to move on. I've apparently got plenty of youth ahead of me. I might as well try and make the best of it, right? Rantaro, while he was taking a lunch break, answered the call from his sister. Hey, Fuuka. What's up, sis? He grinned. Oh, I'm pretty sure it's on top of the cupboard in the living room. What? Aki did? Well, tell her to just put some spit on it and it'll get better. Oh, yeah, I already told them I have to leave early. And I've got a surprise. I'm bringing home something nice. Yeah, there's enough for everyone. Sitting next to him was a completed high school entrance exam. Maki hid in an alleyway. 2 nuns from the home began chasing after her. She jumped out and fired twice, hitting each one in the center of the chest.
So, no one's ever gotten out of the home alive, huh?
She allowed herself to smile as she walked away.
If that's true, then I guess I'll have to be the first to do it. Please watch over me, Miss Arena.
In the penitentiary, Korekio hummed to himself while pulling weeds out of the yard. "Now, let's try hard to be a good boy," he sang under his breath. "I just have to be patient for a few more years. Just have to be patient for a few more years." Mew leaned back on a beach chair with her mother by her side. "Cheer up! We're on vacation!" He chuckled at the pouch she sent his way. "It's not fair!" she whined. "Mommy and Daddy were supposed to own this whole beach. That stupid boy had just died when I tried to kill him. We don't need this beach, honey." Her mother ruffled her hair with a fond smile. "Mommy and Daddy are just happy to have you. You know that." He looked over to see a figure striding across the beach towards them. "Oh, hey, here comes Daddy now." Mew waved with a broad smile. She really did miss them, after all. Himiko sat by Tenko's hospital bed, hoping that maybe today was the day she'd finally acknowledge her. Talk to her.
So,
The red-haired girl began nervously.
the doctor I talked to said you've healed enough to begin physical therapy whenever you're ready. And now that the weather is finally starting to get better, it might be good for you to go outside and get some fresh air and sunshine. You know?
Still no response, huh?
I cut up some apples if you want one.
Nothing there either. She sighed sadly and placed the tray down on the nightstand. Suddenly, a hand grabbed hers tightly. She looked up in surprise at the dark-haired girl, looking straight at her for the first time in weeks. "I know I have no right to say this," Tenko said softly, "but I never once stopped caring for you." Angie sat in an art studio, listening to the music all around her. "This is where you're really meant to be," Atua told her. She hummed and nodded in agreement as she added the final touches to a painting. Shuichi stood on top of a hill, gazing down at the town below. "Such a lovely view," he breathed. "I have a feeling I'll be okay by myself from now on, Shin. Because just take a look at the world and how beautiful it all is." He could feel his other half standing next to him, smiling at the view too.
Kaito!
Kokichi ran towards him with a paper bag in his arm. Hey! What did I tell you about running?" The taller boy stopped him in his tracks, with his hands on his shoulders. "And I shouldn't do it right now," he pouted. "And why is that?" He raised an eyebrow. "Because I might reopen the stab wound." The smaller boy sighed. "You know, if you wanted to get to my heart that badly, you could have just taken me out to dinner." "Oh, shut up." Kaito rolled his eyes and began to walk down the street. "So, what you got there?" "Everyone's diplomas." Kokichi grinned. "I got yours, if you want it." "Ugh, no thanks." "What? After all the trouble I went through to get it? Kaito, you're so mean." The two of them walked side by side. One an assassin, who had yet to actually kill anyone. One a future leader, who wasn't sure if he would or not. But both, hopelessly, in love with each other.